They tell us to think that what actually is involuntary is voluntary, i.e., taxation. They tell us that what's actually up is really down, i.e. prices year to year. And following several major U.S. Supreme Court decisions last week and over the past year that didn't comport with their limitless view of executive branch hegemony and general desire to increase the socialist-fascist expansion of U.S. government power over us, they want changes. Big leftists in the U.S. want to pack the court so that they can unpack the court. Hi everyone, I'm Gardner Goldsmith for MRC-TV. Indeed, after the Supreme Court majority offered some tepid, rather half-hearted tips of the hat to immutable, unalienable natural rights and to federalism, high-profile collectivists are claiming that the court must be packed in order to, get this, unpack it. Mayreed Elordi writes for the Daily Wire, quote, Democrats and liberals raged at the high court, some calling to expand the court's bench to dilute the conservative majority, which was cemented by former President Donald Trump's 3 conservative nominees. Representative Adam Schiff, Democrat of California, said it would not be extreme to add more justices. Expanding the size of the Supreme Court isn't extreme or unprecedented, but the opinions of this court certainly are, Schiff wrote in a tweet Friday. Quite believable words, coming from a guy who in 2019 literally made up a conversation he attributed to Donald Trump and a foreign head of state. For those who are interested, Schiff also tweeted on June 30th that if he gets into the Senate, he will lead the charge to unpack the SCOTUS, the Supreme Court, which leads one to wonder why he and other leftists claim the court has been packed, when in fact Donald Trump's 3 appointments to the bench, Brett Kavanaugh, Neil Gorsuch, and Amy Coney Barrett, were nominated and seated in the same fashion as Joe Biden's recent appointment, Ketanji Brown Jackson. In fact, the question becomes more pressing as one sees more leftist politicians sing Schiff's favorite sour song. Writes Elordi, quote, Representative Ayanna Pressley, Democrat of Massachusetts, said Sunday that packing the court should be on the table.
And here's a Supreme Court that has been emboldened in rolling back the hands of time, undermining and rolling back what should be fundamental civil human rights. So everything should be on the table, reform and expansion.
Evidently, Ms. Pressley is implying that the ability to end another human life is a fundamental civil human right. Of course, the overturning of Roe last year did nothing more than reaffirm that questions about the criminality and punishment of capital murder crimes are, as the founders designed them to be, supposed to be left up to the states, as long as those states protect all human beings equally once the states establish their statutes about murder. Pressley can actually check the 14th Amendment if she has time away from blathering to the public all her nonsense that might better be left unspoken. Then there's the oft too loud AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
The courts, if they were to proceed without any check on their power, without any balance on their power, then we will start to see an undemocratic and frankly dangerous authoritarian expansion of power in the Supreme Court, which is what we are seeing now.
Just how democracy, i.e. majority/gang rule over peaceful individuals, equates to a supposedly constitutionally limited confederation of states that send so-called representatives and senators to D.C. who, we're told, will conform to the limits of that constitution. Just how all of that mixes together, well, you can enjoy figuring that out. And remember, it's not packing the court. You see, Trump packed the court. Despite not deviating from the same procedures the Democrats often cite as necessary for nominating and then approving the black-robed Delphic geniuses who will interpret the Constitution and possibly deal away our natural rights, You, honest American, are absolutely wrong to think that these people are interested in packing the court. Yes, you, who thought that court packing was akin to what leftist Franklin Delano Roosevelt wanted to do in the late 1930s, expanding the size of the court to allow his clearly unconstitutional Social Security and other anti-constitutional schemes survive legal challenge, and when that wasn't deemed acceptable, then trying to get elderly justices to retire so he could replace them with ideological FDR accomplices. You, if you possibly think that way, well, you're way off base. You see, today, packing the court is nominating and seeing appointed those nominees that the lefties don't like. And when the majority on the bench rules, say, perhaps that the abortion issue is a state prerogative, or perhaps that racist but euphemistically titled affirmative action shouldn't be eliminated completely by government or government-subsidized colleges, but merely curtailed just a little bit, or that a business owner should be able to decide whether her religious beliefs come before accepting a possible customer's demands, well, somehow those majority decisions are a result of court packing. At least one high-profile leftist actually admitted the truth about this, the truth that's been hiding behind all of this political DC bluster. Elordi notes that, quote, some liberal academics called to pack the court as well. Biden won't pack the Supreme Court and it's killing democracy, read the headline of a Friday Newsweek opinion article by David Ferris, an associate professor of political science at Roosevelt University in the Chicago area. With or without Biden, court expansion must become a litmus test for any Democrat who wants to pursue federal office, Ferris wrote. The alternative is to spend the next 15 Junes learning which part of American public life has been needlessly upended by corrupt, originalist fanatics. Fanatics. You heard and possibly read that right. But remember, reading something right as it was originally written and intended to be understood, well, that's actually a bad thing if it doesn't allow the expansion of the state and it doesn't increase the power of central political authorities over states and the individual human beings therein. Perhaps we can just interpret Mr. Ferris's words to mean something completely contrary to what he intended. If we read his words as he did intend them to be read, does that mean we're originalist fanatics? Well, such questions often are academic. They're merely for conversation. But when the question of originalism is tied to how our natural rights will or will not be respected by the state, or perhaps being focused on this battle of words and on court packing is pretty darn important. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please like and subscribe. Get jazzed up for freedom. Visit us on Rumble where they don't censor us. Please give it the thumbs up and share with as many people as you can. Hop over, put it over on Twitter, put it in Facebook, send it to people in email. Visit us at mrctv.org. That's mrctv.org. And while you're there, check out the MRC store for some great items. And of course, consider donating to the Media Research Center. You can still find us on YouTube where, yes, we are censored. And of course, as I mentioned, you can find us in Facebook. You can also find us on TikTok and Instagram. And yes, on Twitter. On Twitter, I'm at Gard Goldsmith. And on Gab, I'm at Gardner Goldsmith. For MRC TV, I'm Gardner Goldsmith.